when things are all bright and rosy, what do most people think the future is going to be like? More of this. When things are looking bleak, there's a lack of optimism, things just seem to keep spiraling out of control in a negative way. What do most people think is going to continue? Whether this is good, whether this is bad. It's important that we don't get too high on the highs and too low in the lows. And a lot of people will say to me, be like, well, if I don't enjoy the good times, then what is the point of life? And that's a very important point, something we have to consider. 100% I am for enjoying the little wins in life. I've made a video on this before. I think you have to celebrate those moments because we all never know what can be around the corner. But it's important you enjoy those moments, enjoy that evening, enjoy that night, do something nice, go for a meal, spend time with friends, family, whatever you want to do. But then you have to kind of just get on with it again the next day and be like, okay, well, I've got to continue with this to see the same results in the future. I've got to continue to, keep that level and hopefully go to the next level, because in life, that's what we want. We want to see ourselves elevate and make more progress in our life. And the same goes for the lows. It's just as important that we feel these emotions, these feelings of sadness, anger, frustration, anxiety, these common feelings that we all feel, every single day. And I believe we have to embrace them. A lot of people may tell you to shut off from your emotions and, you kind of get on with it. And there's a time and place for that. 100% I agree with that. But there's also very much a time and place where we have to feel these emotions and understand why we are feeling these emotions. But it's also important that we don't spend too long dwelling on these emotions and feel like, okay, this time, I'm not really happy, with how my day's gone. Maybe some things are in your control. Maybe a lot of things are probably out of your control. But you have to remember that this moment will pass. The good times will come and go. The bad times will come and go. And that has to liberate you. And thinking those, especially those hard times, those bad times where things are really not good for you, when you feel like you're up against it, when you feel like you've been working really hard but things just don't seem to be going your way. Maybe you've had some misfortune, things just seem to compound for whatever reason. They are going to be, maybe you will have experienced those worst times of your life, and once you hit the bottom, you'll be like, well, it's only up from here. And that is one of the good things about having those kind of really low lows, is that things will get better, and you have to realize this and take this with you. And that's going to make you extremely powerful in those hard situations where everyone else is quitting, everyone's throwing in the towel, everyone's letting their emotions get the better of themselves, and they're probably making reckless mistakes. They're giving into bad habits, and they're kind of on a spiral out of control that's just going to be negative. And I think this comes from, a lack of self-worth and self-awareness. The more time passes, we see this in relationships especially. I think this is an angle we have to look at, and that people will stay in relationships that have gone really sour and they've naturally ran their course. And a lot of people, it's very easy from us to look at it from the outside and think, these two people together, they're not happy whatsoever. It's so obvious. They argue a lot. There's no kind of excitement there. They don't get on whatsoever. They don't do stuff together. They're kind of just living this weird life where it's probably like separate lives. Like I saw that with my parents. They live pretty much separate lives, even though they're married, they were together. And you realize how common this is, that a lot of people do this. And it's something that, for me, seeing that firsthand, I was like, I don't want to experience that whatsoever. And I think that's often the case, and it's really, it's not nice to see at all. You see these people who are genuinely really, really great people, and if they were the right person, then they would be able to excel, express themselves for who they really are, and live a life that would be so much more rewarding, and someone else would really appreciate them. And unfortunately, they're with a person who doesn't, and a lot of things, negative things can happen in relationships like this. But one person has to take the leap of faith in these relationships and walk away from it. But unfortunately, like I say, as time passes, people naturally get very complacent and think, well, time's getting on, and, will I find anything better? And, well, I've got kids now, I've got a house with them, so I can't walk away from the situation. You know, I'm gonna just have to stick with it and try and make things work. And then they try and make things work, and then things just don't work at all. And like I say, it's very not nice to see that there's a lot of people out there, maybe even you watching this video, you're in one of these relationships that, you know, it has run its course. Maybe it was great at the start, maybe you had some great times, and you look back and think great memories too, and that might be a big reason why you're still together to this day. But you have to understand that things do run their course, and we have to walk away when it feels like we have reached that point in our life, and we have to experience that new chapter in our life, and just look at those memories and think, okay, you know, we had some amazing times, but more importantly, we look at the stuff that, you know, didn't go so well, and we use that as, you know, ammunition to go forward and to make sure the next relationship and the next chapter of our life is a lot better than the one we just experienced, because that's virtually the only reason we can look at the, you know, negative times in a positive way, because anything else, you're just kind of holding on to the past, holding on to something that was out of your control, that is no longer relevant to this day, and it's not doing you any favors whatsoever. And okay, let's look at it again from a financial perspective. So you see a lot of people big in investing, for example, Bitcoin and crypto amongst young people is extremely popular at the moment. And we see a lot of young teenagers, you know, 15, 16-year-olds even, you know, claiming they make a lot of money from Forex, crypto, whatever it may be. And they think, okay, you know, I'll be a millionaire if I just get this little shit coin to go up 100, 1,000x its, you know, price at the moment. Then if I do this a few times, I'll be a millionaire. I'll never have to work again. I won't be a normal person. I don't have to work a normal job that I don't want to do, and blah blah blah. We see this time and time again, and the thing you have to remember that is almost never gonna happen. It pretty much doesn't happen, and anyone who claims that this happens is almost definitely lying to try and sell you something online. Unfortunately, that's how it is. And as you grow up and see how things work online and the YouTube and the influencer space, you realize that nearly all of it is just complete bollocks, and people are just trying to sell you a dream, unfortunately. And we see crypto, like I say, and you know, it's extremely volatile market, as you probably know watching this video. The chances of that happening is virtually nothing. And if I said to you, you know, you put this money in, whatever it may be, it doesn't matter how much, and you're going to make 25% over the next 6 months, any rational person would be like, you know, that's fucking amazing. Like, I'll snap your hand off for that. 25% profit, you know, what you get from a bank, like 3-4% nowadays in the UK, something along those lines. So you're making a hell of a lot more than you're going to make from your bank. So naturally you'd be like, yeah, that sounds a great one, obviously guaranteed. And that's the thing with investing, nothing is guaranteed. You could lose that money and you could lose even more. And I'm not saying for you to do this is not investment advice at all. But we have to understand that we would do that. And I've been in situations before. I remember when Trump was about to be elected, there was a stock with his name in it and a media company. And I was up, I can't remember, I was up like 112%. And I still didn't sell because of pure greed. And like I say, if someone said, you know, you'll make 25% on this stock and I'm going to sell it for you, you'd be like, yeah, great, please. That sounds amazing. But when you're in this position, you're like, well, you know, I'm already like 70, 80%. Maybe I can make more, maybe more money. But we have to understand, like, no, like that just doesn't really happen. How often is that going to happen? How sustainable is that? Probably not. Like, on average, the stock market rises, you know, 6, 8, 9% a year, dependent on the year, depending on who you speak to. And a great kind of Wall Street investor, they're probably going to make you like a 7, 8% return on average, probably a very good return at best. And you have to understand, if you're making these amounts, you have to cash in. And remember that, you know, if you've got to think long term, take your profits from these stocks and crypto that is extremely volatile. Maybe you got some luck. And I think that's the thing that builds a lot of overconfidence, especially when it comes to investing, is that people see, you know, they make one good move, and this might have been completely timing. Like you saw with all the tariffs and things going on, if you sold all your stuff before that, like the day before, you'd think, oh, I'm a genius, you know, I've made my money and now everything's dropped and now I can buy back in. But that could have been complete luck, that you just thought, you know, I wanted them, you might have needed the money, or you thought, you know what, I'm just thought I've made good money now and I'll sell, and then you do that and then you think that's going to repeat itself in the next few weeks and you spend a lot of money and you end up losing more. It pretty much always happens. You see it with a lot of people, and like I say, it's happened to myself, so I know what I'm talking about from experience. And like I say, yeah, you don't realise you probably are relying hugely on luck with these types of things. And this is what this whole video is about, is that you have to have that ability to walk away from situations when enough is enough, whether that be from a financial perspective, as I've just spoken about when it comes to your investments, whether that be from a relationship that is dead in the water, whether that be from a job or career that, you know, was once great and it served a purpose. Maybe you were able to save up a lot of money, maybe you were able to learn a lot of different experience, maybe it was in your hometown, but now you're ready for a new challenge. You have to understand that things, you know, run their course, and naturally, as we are as humans, we are bound for progress, and that's the way we should be going, and that's the way you have to think. And having this ability is extremely, you know, psychological, because naturally we are told we are rational creatures. However, every single thing would tell you otherwise, especially when it comes to relationships, because emotions are involved. And like I said, I'm not telling you to be completely some unemotional robotic person like an AI bot, like a lot of people probably are so nowadays, because that's where they're getting their information from. They're not really feeling it from within. And I definitely don't think you should ignore that. You should feel your feelings every single step of the way and understand why you are feeling that. But like I say, if you can kind of master this and be like, you know, I know when enough is enough. I know my self-worth. You know, I've made enough money, whatever it may be, you will be extremely successful, because you see a lot of people, even, you know, at the tops of things, being CEOs and owning businesses, they don't know when enough is enough. A lot of the time it comes to greed and thinking more is more, but you have to understand there is a certain point, whatever it is for you, that enough will be enough, and you have to be content with that, and you have to find whatever that is for you in all the areas of your life. So I hope this video has been really insightful for you, because it was important for me to make this video, because I've definitely been in different situations where I've been in a relationship and it's, you know, gone on far too well. It's extremely stagnant, becoming somewhat toxic, and I shouldn't have been in that relationship, and I should have ended it a lot sooner. I've made financial decisions where I've been completely way too greedy and ended up losing money, and yeah, it's come back to bite me. I've stayed in jobs and careers where they've just not suited me. They've been completely unfulfilling. They've served their time maybe for a certain point, but, you know, I stayed in them far too long. And you always think everything is easier looking back in hindsight, and we all know this, but you have to experience some things. I 100% believe that, to kind of build this muscle. But once you have, you don't want to keep living the same life on repeat and thinking, yeah, I keep making the same mistakes. We have to learn from these moments, and once we experience this, maybe once in, you know, our relationships, our career, our finances, then we have to be like, okay, I did that for far too long, and it was a great experience. I probably did need to experience that for myself firsthand, but now I know, you know, this was enough. This is what I actually want to do, and going forward, I'm going to implement this in my life and make sure I do walk away a lot sooner than I did before. And this will really compound and really, really help you the sooner you kind of master this, and throughout life as you kind of get older and those decisions become more valuable, and you're going to have to make more of those decisions naturally as life progresses. So yeah, I feel like I've done a lot of talking. I feel like there was a lot of value in this video. So if you feel the same, please like and subscribe. That'd be massively appreciated. If you need any more guidance on this topic or anything else to do with self-improvement, I'm your guy for it. So my one-to-one personal coaching link for under $10 will be in the description below. I'll see you in the next video now. Take care.